We have a long sail ahead of us. Somewhere out there, America awaits. No one knows how long it will take, or what it's going to be like once we get there. So many questions are running through my mind. Will the ship hold? Will I ever see my parents again? And what is America really like? Do they even have sheep there? There is no turning back now. We need to leave everything behind us, because somewhere out there, on the other side, far, far away, awaits a whole new beginning.
Welcome on board the Restauration, a proud monument of Norwegian immigration. My name is Halvor, and I will do my best as a storyteller today, and I will tell you a short version in English, because we are streaming this live for our friends in America. So hopefully the Sloopers Society of America will understand my Tasta English, as we say in Norway. And you know, streaming this live is not exactly what they did in 1825. So if you look at the ship where we are now and streaming this live, it's quite, you know, it's very different. We are about to see a new movie, The Emigrant, based on the books by Wilhelm Moberg. And the story in Sweden and the travel with the ship, it's more or less, you can see parallel to what happened with this ship in Norway. 20 years later, 52 people left Stavanger. A child was born on the way. There's a parallel to the movie and to our history here in Stavanger. So these two stories are more or less the same. I guess that's one of the reasons why we were invited up to Haugesund to tell the story, and why we are here now, because with this ship we have a floating monument for what happened in 1825. It's 200 years ago, and what we see in Europe today, it's more or less the same. And it's important to remember that Norway has not always been the richest country in the world. It's not a long time ago. It's 2-3 generations. It's not like, woo. A group of people left the old world behind and set sail for new horizons and crossed the Atlantic in a small boat. 52 people. A child was born. That's it's unbelievable. The whole thing is unbelievable. Erik Bye, a famous Norwegian artist, Erik Bye, he wrote a book called Silver Wind about the Norwegian immigration, and he was invited to New York for the 150 years anniversary, and he was there together with King Olav, you know, His Majesty King Olav, and Kringkastingsorkestra from Norway, and he held a speech. Erik Bye held a speech in Carnegie Hall, 29 minutes without the manuscript. Not like me, I have to read sometimes, but he had a fantastic speech. You can Google it, you can actually look at it. We have a link on our website. And he said it's nothing to celebrate. Like a lot of Americans like to see it as a celebration, as a 200 years celebration. But I would like to quote him, because he actually said, why celebrate the fact that 40% of the Norwegian population found the life so unbearable that they left for never to go back. Norway had for many years been under the Danish king. This was in 1825. The Napoleon War was from 1807 to 1814. So it was 11 years later that this happened. So the people who traveled, like they were, it was freedom of religion. That was the main reason for the people who left with this boat. And there was cheap farmland and new opportunities and all these things. But during this, after the Napoleon War, a lot of Norwegians were captured by the Brits and sent to prison ships in England. And that's where the Lars Larsen Jælane, who was one of the founders of the Quakers Foundation in Stavanger, met the Quakers and actually became a Quaker. And when he came back to Norway, they were struggling with the state church and didn't have the best times. So there were 6 families collecting money, buying this boat to travel across the Atlantic. And the boat was not built for traveling overseas. It was a fishing boat used for herring and cargo in Norway up and down the coast. It was a coast cargo ship. but they found this ship which was rebuilt from a yacht to a sloop. It was extended, larger. They put a different rig on the boat to improve the downwind sailing skills. It would be faster to sail downwind because they were looking for the trade winds to go across the Atlantic. And Stavanger was not a big city at this time. There was 20,000 people living in Stavanger. This was a big event. When 52 people decided to leave, everybody knew somebody on board. So there was lots of people on the pier, everywhere in Stavanger, screaming, shouting, blessing, singing when they left. So it was not just like 52 people left. It was a big thing in Norway. It was the biggest group that ever left Norway. It has become the nickname for the Norwegian Mayflower after the more famous ship from England, the ship that carried pilgrims from England to Plymouth. That was, this ship is a lot smaller, but it was 2.5 times as crowded as the Mayflower. It's unbelievable how many people actually stayed on the boat. The crossing to America took, the whole sail together was 98 days. They sailed from Stavanger to south of England to Cornwall. It took about 7 days. So they stopped there for food and water. And some people on board started trading liquor like moonshine on the market at the square. That was not legal according to English law. So they were, rumors was they were going to be arrested. So the captain decided to leave. Just leave before they got arrested. So they didn't have enough water, they didn't have enough food for the long leg down south to Madeira. And sailing south then, at the end, they were drifting towards Funchal. 52 people at that time, with no water, going south, hot, and no wind. So as they was drifting towards Madeira, and this is a fact, it's just not something that we made up. They found a barrel of Madeira wine in the sea, and they managed to get that on board, and drank most of it. And the crew was, of course, they were thirsty, so I guess they get drunk. They fell asleep. They were drifting into Funchal with no flag hoisted. There was no sign of anyone on board. You were supposed, this was after the war, so you have to raise a flag that you didn't have any diseases on board. So the cannons was raised against them, ready to fire, and there was a German skipper on a boat from Bremen. He managed to get contact with the people on board. So you need to raise the flag. You need to tell him who you are before something happened, and they did. Luckily, because of if not, they would have just gunned them down and sank the ship. But two guys from the custom came on board, found everything to be in good order, and they were invited to the American consul, and he provided them with lots of fresh fruits and had a big garden party for the whole crew, and they actually fired a salute from the same fort when they left across for the long leg. And then they were sailing south against the Canarian Island to try to catch the trade winds, because it's a downwind sail. You can't sail upwind with this boat. You need to sail downwind because of the shape of the hull and everything. But okay, so they sailed like a big circle 40 days, and 4 days before Bahamas they had this child born, Margaret Allen. They named her after one of the Quakers in England, and yeah, we actually have a dinghy with the same name now, so that's something. And then they I guess we don't know exactly where they stranded in Florida or up north, but they sailed from Bahamas. They didn't go ashore in Bahamas. They sailed to Florida and then up north to New York, where they arrived at the 9th of October with everybody in good health, and yeah, not like the sad story from Sweden where people, well, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but that was a different story. Everybody arrived in safe, and it was a big event in New York. A lot of Norwegian sailors crossing the Atlantic, so many people, but actually too many people for that small boat. So they were arrested or the boat was arrested, the captain was arrested, and they were told that they had to pay a fine to get it off because it was not according to American law. And the president, he stopped the whole thing and said, how can you're risking your life sailing from Norway to America, to a country which you don't know anything about. And how can you know the laws? How can we arrest somebody coming to this country for something they don't know anything about? So they were all free of charge for that. So more or less the story about the sail, why they left and how they did it, that's the important thing for me to tell now. When they arrived, that's a different story. That so many things happens. There's like 2 more books, like the 3 books. You can't tell that story. I wanted to tell you the story in the boat. Imagine 52, 53 people on board here, sailing to America in 1820, to a country that you don't know anything about. So there is, as you read, there's so many stories, so many things to look at. This is just a sail. This is just, now we are going to look at this amazing movie. And I'm so lucky, I've already seen it, and you're the best. This is a handmade copper plate from the 100 years anniversary, which a family from Finnøy has been given to us. And at the same time, at the 100 years anniversary, there was a monument raised in the Bjerksted Park. And now, in 3 years from now, it's 200 years anniversary. So something must happen. And we have decided there's a news we want to tell everybody tonight, live, and to our American friends. 3 years from now, we are sailing to New York. Again, with the Restoration. And it's just not because we want to do this, it's more or less to honor the people who left 200 years ago and to mark their history. And there's a point you see what's happening in Europe today. So that's what we have decided, and that's something we look forward to. We are going to New York. So, and have a nice evening and enjoy the movie. It's good. Thank you. Okay. Da kan vi snakke norsk, ja?